You are thinking about seriously retiring, but they say you need almost $2 million to do so comfortably. You don't have anywhere near that much. Can you ever retire? Do you have to work forever? Let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Andre. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. And if you're returning, as always, thank you so much for coming back. I truly, truly appreciate it. We had some interesting stuff happen next week, which I will talk about last week, which I will talk about in a future video when I do a May update on the channel's progress. But we've had an influx of new subscribers, and I wanted to say an extra special welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for willing to join us and take the journey. Let's see where this all goes. Thank you. All right, so let's get into the video. All right, according to a study conducted by Charles Schwab, a big financial firm, called the 2024 401k Participant Study, the majority of Americans think that we need to have over $1.8 million saved to have a comfortable retirement. This was the same amount quoted in 2023 when they did the survey. They do it annually. Okay, then another study done by Northwestern Mutual called the Northwestern Mutual 2025 Planning and Progress Study. That number is $1.26 million to retire comfortably. Is that really the case? Well, spoiler alert, but I suspect that you knew this already. The answer is a definitive, it depends. I'll link both studies down below so you can take a look at them for yourselves. But let's dive into exactly what might be required for us to retire comfortably. As with any financial planning situation, how much money one expects to need is highly dependent on how much money one actually wants to use to do a specific thing, to execute a specific plan. As you often hear me say on here, the key is planning, planning, planning. There's a reason that money management professionals carry the certification CFP, which stands for Certified Financial Planner. They're big on planning. Based on the totality of circumstances, most of us can reasonably retire comfortably. Now, to be clear, reasonably comfortable leaves a lot of room for interpretation, and my definition could be vastly different than my neighbor's interpretation. However, I do truly believe that with a focus and a long-term career horizon, and some decent luck in various investment strategies during that time frame, then we have a great shot at setting ourselves up to be very comfortable in retirement. So I figured I would go over a few fictitious examples. I've just made these up, but wanted to illustrate the points of what's possible with less than $1.5 million or whatever it might be. I'm not going to go into deep detail on each of these, but I hope that I can provide enough information to illustrate the point that most of us can certainly do this. All right, let's see what we got. In many situations, the watchwords are delayed gratification. If we focus on saving for retirement from very early in our careers, we can reap serious benefits later when we come to retirement. Nothing magical about that. All right, so example number one. Let's say Mary wants to have $5,500 a month over an anticipated 30-year period to support her plan. Now, for everybody on here, we're going to assume that they're retiring close to normal, quote-unquote, normal retirement age of about 65, and they're planning out a 30-year time horizon. They may certainly pass away before then, but, we want to be conservative, so we're planning out 30 years. Okay, so Mary has Social Security of $2,300 per month. She has a small pension from previous employer of $850 per month. She's been a diligent saver for most of her working life into 401ks and IRAs, and when she moved from one company to another, she transferred her 401k money. She kept a very vigilant eye on her savings, and she has amassed a $750,000 in IRAs and 401ks. And finally, she has about $50,000 in cash savings, CDs, just a savings account, high yield savings account, etc. Now, one of the things that I'm going to continue to come back to as we go through these examples is you may have heard of the 4% rule. So let me just digress for a second and explain what that is. As a rule of thumb, and this is not a guarantee, this is not do this and you'll get the same result. This is just a rule of thumb that many financial folks say that if you have X amount of money, if you have X amount of money and you have a 30-year time horizon, you can safely take out 4% of that amount. And with conservative investing, relatively conservative investing strategies, that taking out 4% a year, you'll be able to last, that money will be able to last you for 30 years. So we're going to continue to use that basic 4% rule of thumb as we go through these different examples. So let's again go back over Mary. $2,300 in Social Security, small pension of $850. Her $750,000 in her IRA, if we do the 4%, will generate about $24,000 per year, taking out about 4% of that money, which equates to $2,500 per month, 24,000 divided by 12. And then the extra money she has in savings won't even factor into this. So if we add the 2,300, the 850, and the 2,500 coming out of her savings, out of her 401k and IRA, she is going to have an income of $5,650 per month. And if you remember, she was trying to get $5,500, so she actually has a little extra left over, got some additional breathing room. And this is without touching the money that she has in savings. That money can be allocated for, if she wants to take some special trips above and beyond what would be in her normal budget, or if she wanted to have an emergency fund, something going on with her, house issue or car issue or whatever. She's got some savings to be able to do that. I do apologize. I'm having a little bit of stuff going on with my throat, but wanted to get through this. On the other hand, Harry, let's take Harry. Harry wants $5,000 a month over the same anticipated 30-year time frame. He has Social Security of $2,500 a month. He has lived paycheck to paycheck for many years and has put little to no money away in savings each month or, for a long period of time. So he doesn't have a whole lot of extra assets. He has $120,000 in 401ks and IRAs. Again, using that 4% rule of thumb, he should have about $4,800 per year, or divided by 12, $400 per month coming in from his 401k IRA savings. He recently got a lump sum separation buyout from his employer, and that provided him $150,000. That would work out, again, using the 4% rule of thumb, to $6,000 per year, which equates to $500 per month. He owns a rental house, which he's owned for many years, and after expenses and paying the management company and the whole bit, he nets about $900 a month of income coming in, and that has been steady for several years. All right, and finally, he plans, because he realizes he's not going to make it to the goal that he wants for himself, plans on taking a part-time job delivering automobile parts for a wholesaler, let's say, and that will pay him about $1,000 a month. Okay, so let's add all that up. So he's got $2,500 Social Security, $400 from his IRA and 401k stuff, $500 from the money that he got from his employer's buyout, $900 from his rental income, and this extra $1,000 that he is going to be using from the part-time job that he is going to be taking on, and that gives him $5,300 a month. Now, he wanted $5,000 a month, so we're a little over there for him as well, and he's got some ability to move things around. So it's possible. And this is if you just look at his savings. He only had $120,000 in savings, but he's got some good investments that are helping out. And he's worked, he had a high-paying job, so he's getting a higher Social Security benefit as well. Third example, this is the final one. Let's look at a couple. So Jim and Pam want $8,000 a month over the same 30-year time period. They both worked throughout their careers, and they both have Social Security benefits of about $2,000 a month. They each have been saving diligently into 401ks and IRAs, and combined they have a total of $1 million. Pam has a $600,000 IRA, and Jim has $400,000 between his 401ks and IRAs, so $1 million total. Using the 4% rule of thumb again, that gives them $40,000 a year, and that approximates out to about $3,300 per month. Pam has a small pension from a previous employer. She'll be getting $500 per month. And finally, they've been diligent savers outside of retirement assets, and they have $100,000 in savings. So let's add their stuff up. So we've got $4,000 in Social Security, each of them having a $2,000 Social Security benefit, the $3,300 coming from their $1 million of retirement assets out of their IRAs and 401ks, the $500 from Pam's pension, and that adds up to $7,800 a month. Now, they wanted $8,000. They've got the $100,000 in savings. They can easily pull, the extra $200 a month that they need out of that $100,000 for quite some time into the future. All right. So the question becomes then, can these folks have comfortable retirements? As I said before, it depends. For every scenario, we must look at the totality of the situation. Just looking at the raw savings numbers often supplies an inaccurate view of the complete financial picture. Retirement readiness is not only about saving more, but also about spending less. I put out a couple of videos before, which I'll link down below. It talks about cutting costs in retirement. There are several options on how to either add income and savings on that side, or to cut down on expenses and costs on the other side. Here are just a quick few. Downsizing a house. If you went down to a lower cost house, you could then take some of the money out of going down the downsizing and add that to your savings. Renting out part of a home or getting a roommate. If your children are gone and so on, now you've got empty rooms and stuff, maybe you take on a roommate. Kind of reminds me of the old TV show, The Golden Girls. Taking on a side hustle or gig work or a part-time job, as Harry is planning to do in our previous example. Moving to a lower cost of living area where your taxes are lower, your cost of electricity, water, groceries, etc. are lower. Or even working a year or two longer and really focusing on saving. If your nest egg only has to supply you for 28 years rather than 30 years, and during those extra 2 years you were able to, build more money into your 401k and into your savings account and stuff, that puts less pressure on your portfolio and will allow you to be better set up for a more comfortable retirement. And there are so many more ways to improve your retirement financial picture. We sometimes just need to be a little creative on ways to either increase income or cut down on expenses. It can absolutely be done. Okay, that's what I wanted to cover in this video. I hope that you found a tip or two of some value to helping you have a more comfortable retirement. As always, if the content of this video resonated with you, I ask that you like, share, with anybody else that you think might find this interesting, and subscribe. We continue to try and grow the channel, and I ask you to kind of click the subscribe button and join us as we continue to talk about all things retirement. Also, as I continue to build the channel here, I get lots of ideas from the comments and the feedback. So if you have any input, certainly please leave it in the comments below, and we can continue to grow this as we go forward. I truly appreciate your stopping by. And again, welcome to all the new folks. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. That's it for this one. Thank you. And as always, in Alita Times.